court as Donald Trump's historic federal indictment begins. And an update to a mobile home fire over the weekend on Red River Street. Plus, Midcoast Family Services has a new day center to help people who are homeless in Victoria.
We have a long-term heat wave in store. In fact, it's going to go on for probably another 7 to 10 days. I'll have the sorry facts for you coming up.
And 3 area 7-on-7 football teams battled it out at Memorial Stadium. Things got chippy. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Karina Garcia. Don Brubaker has the night off. New at 10 tonight, part of a roof collapsed today at a high school in the Houston metro area, killing 1 construction worker and hurting 3 others. It happened late this afternoon at the school where work was underway to build a new gym. Authorities say no students or staff were in the building when the roof collapsed. No word on the condition of the 3 injured workers or what may have caused the collapse. Just now, an Amber Alert was issued in Princeton, Texas for a 14-year-old girl named Jermara Strotter. She was last seen wearing a gray sweatshirt and gray sweatpants with a white stripe and black house shoes. The suspect is a 34-year-old black man that goes by the name Lee Carter III, and the vehicle they were last seen in was a black 2014 Mercedes E35 with a license plate that reads RNS2973. If you have any information about their whereabouts, please call 911. Just before noon today, Victoria fire crews responded to the Kids Care Learning Center on North Navarro near Zach Lentz Parkway. A spokesperson says a malfunctioning air conditioner caused the smoke and no injuries were reported. Saturday around 7 a.m., the Victoria Fire Department and the Police Department responded to the 300 block of East Red River Street for a fire. The front of a mobile home was on fire when fire crews arrived. Firefighters say the fire was an accident and no one was hurt. And we go to Miami, where a federal court and former President Donald Trump's attorneys entered a not guilty plea to all 37 counts in the indictment. Prosecutors claim he mishandled classified documents, some of which contain national defense secrets. After his arraignment, Trump flew to New Jersey, where he spoke to a crowd of supporters and denied any wrongdoing.
Just hours after he was arrested and fingerprinted electronically, former President Donald Trump back in front of a crowd of supporters, maintaining his innocence.
Today we witness the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch.
Trump speaking at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, flying there after his arraignment in Miami federal court, where he spent about an hour inside a courtroom, mostly staring at the floor, slumped over in his chair with a stern face and not uttering a single word. His attorney, Todd Blanche, entering a not guilty plea on behalf of Trump to all 37 federal counts, some potentially carry decades in prison if the former president is convicted. Special counsel Jack Smith, who led the investigation, sitting just one row behind Trump, has accused Trump of illegally keeping sensitive classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort, in a storage area, a ballroom, and even a bathroom. They allegedly included secrets about United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. Trump's co-defendant, one of his closest aides, Walt Nauta, has also been charged, accused of conspiring with his boss to obstruct the investigation, though he didn't enter a plea because he didn't have local counsel to represent him. Outside the courthouse, protesters from both sides gathering throughout the day.
Food for everyone. Food for everyone.
After the hearing, Trump stopped at a local Cuban restaurant to greet supporters.
The former president has been barred from speaking to any witnesses about the case except through counsel. Nauta is set to return to court later this month. Rena Roy, ABC News, Miami.
And now let's take a look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis.
Well, thank you, Karina. Good evening, everyone. Our temperature right now still 83 degrees. It feels like 92 because of the humidity. There's that whole temperature versus humidity thing. We managed to get up to 93 today, and that's because some clouds came in from some storms far out in West Texas. But that number is going to be rising. In fact, we'll be near 100 for the rest of the week. I'll have more on your forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. The Salvation Army of Victoria will provide a cooling station as well as snacks for those looking to escape the heat. At any given time when the heat becomes too unbearable, there could be 3 to 10 people hanging out down by the center.
This is the time where folks can fall out. You know, folks can become very sick. And this is the time of year that I worry about those that don't come and utilize our shelter. They can be in serious trouble.
If you are unable to reach the Salvation Army, there are other places you can cool off, such as the library, Christ Kitchen, and various fast food restaurants. Temperatures are on the rise across Texas, and it's taking a lot of power to run air conditioning, so much so that some Texas officials are concerned about a record energy demand.
With parts of North Texas hitting 100 over the weekend, we're all searching for relief in water or inside.
That extra degree or two of heat is causing, that extra 1,000 megawatts to be needed. That can be the difference between outages and not.
Doug Lewin writes a Texas Energy and Power newsletter and does not expect outages this week. But both he and ERCOT are expecting record demand on the grid.
We're going to have very few years that aren't extreme years going forward. That's just the new reality.
Headed into summer, record demand is 80 gigawatts set last July. ERCOT expected peak demand this summer to be 82.7 gigawatts. Now, in just the second week of June, they expect 81.8 this Friday at 5 p.m.
This is going to continue to be a problem. They're going to continue to underpredict.
Lewin says outages usually happen for 3 reasons: high demand, unexpected outages, and low-performing solar and wind. And while demand will be high this week, outages are expected to come down, and solar should perform very well.
Every time we break a record, that represents a failure, because we are not implementing energy efficiency solutions. We are not implementing demand response solutions.
Lewin says both a lack of efficiency and no system beyond asking people to conserve power is a bad path, considering the state's growth and global warming.
It's like I tell my kids, focus on the things you can control. You can't control the wind, but you can control demand side, storage, all of these kinds of things.
With a week of 100-degree temps in the forecast, both Texans and our grid could be searching for relief. In Dallas, I'm William Jewell.
KHOU reports crews worked overnight into Tuesday morning to cool down the temperatures at the terminals at Bush Intercontinental Airport as they try to restore the air conditioning system. Today, the airport spent all day bringing in portable AC units and installing temporary chillers to pick up the slack of the ones that are down. They said they lost 2 of their 6 chillers within hours of each other. Now, in an effort,
it's just as hot as outside, so it's different, but it's definitely something to try to get used to. And then with the long lines and the heat, it's a bad combination right now.
In an effort to try and make passengers as comfortable as possible, airport workers have been passing out bottled waters. And so this brings us to your viewer poll tonight. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, do you think the energy grid will be able to handle the demand this summer? Yes or no? We take a look at these results and 22% say yes, 78% stand at no. Thank you for voting tonight. Visit us tomorrow for our latest viewer poll. Now, another delay in the trial of a Texas man accused of murdering his parents. This is the 3rd capital murder trial for Antonio A.J. Armstrong Jr. He is accused of killing his parents while they were sleeping at their home in Southwest Houston back in 2016. Armstrong was just 16 years old at the time. Opening statements are now set to begin on July 31st. The judge issued a gag order, so neither Armstrong's defense team nor the prosecutors could give details on this latest delay. Armstrong's first 2 trials in 2019 and again last October ended in mistrials because the jury could not agree on a verdict. A robbery suspect accused of running into a Northwest Houston school while summer classes were in session after a chase has ended in a rollover crash. It started as a carjacking shortly before 9 this morning. The suspect crashed into another driver, causing a box truck to roll over. After the crash, HPD said the suspect fled on foot to a school campus nearby. The school went into secure mode. Authorities said the suspect was only on campus for about 10 minutes before he was detained by police. The homeless population continues to grow in Victoria, so Midcoast Family Services has a new day center. Thanks to a $195,000 grant from the City of Victoria, Midcoast Family Services can now help more people find the services they need.
It's a way to help people that are living on the street connect with services, take a shower, have a chance to use the laundry, talk with the case manager, and just be somewhere.
The Day Center should be ready for business by October 1st. It's located behind the Midcoast Family Services thrift store on the corner of Navarro and Virginia Streets. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click on that notification bell. For now, stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, the first grade teacher who was shot by her 6-year-old student in January no longer works for the school. Also ahead, of protesters gathered outside a courthouse in Iowa after the owner of that building collapsed appeared in court. First grade teacher Abby Zwarner, who was shot by her 6-year-old student back in January, no longer works for the Newport News Public School. The one-page email from the Human Resources Department explained the exiting information. In an email from Newport News Public School Human Resources Department, Abigail Zwarner was notified of a separation of employment. Zwarner's attorney called it firing for Zwarner. She says she has not been paid since February. The officer who was wrongfully shot who wrongfully shot an 11-year-old in a rural Mississippi is suspended without pay. The State Bureau of Investigation said the shooting happened when Indianola Police Sergeant Craig Cappers was responding to the boy's 911 call last month. The city leaders voted 4-1 for the suspension Monday. The boy's family says he's recovering from a collapsed lung and fractured ribs. The Bureau of Investigation is using the force. The police department said it won't comment on this ongoing investigation. The latest in the apartment collapse in Iowa, protesters gathered outside of the Scott County Courthouse Monday morning as Andrew Wold, owner of the building, was due in court.
It's very clear that there was negligence that endangered my child's life.
Protesters gathering outside the Scott County Courthouse Monday morning as Andrew Wold, owner of the partially collapsed building known as the Davenport, was due in court. Wold pleading guilty to not properly maintaining the downtown Davenport apartments, owing court fees and a nominal fine totaling about $400. The mother of a former tenant outside hoping for justice for her son and others impacted.
A lot of people, have feelings about what they would like to see happen, but it's a process. And I want accuracy in the justice that we get. That's very important to me.
Down the street, crews are making noticeable progress on tearing down what remains. The process expected to take several weeks. Meanwhile, Monday afternoon, a couple miles north at the Rhythm City Casino.
So in 2019, we understand people were not happy with us. So we engaged our friends from the Corps.
Mayor Mike Mattson delivering his State of the City address, touting his administration's accomplishments like infrastructure upgrades, public safety, and this year's flood response.
Engaging so many other people, and then quite frankly, building the berm bigger and stronger and having the Corps tell us how to do it. That's what we do. We learn, we grow, we have to go through tough times.
Mattson making mention of the deadly collapse, starting off with a moment of silence for the victims.
We had a tragedy here. Brandon, Ryan, and Daniel lost their lives. Miss Berry was critically injured. People around this community they care, and they only care about the people, how to help.
As the city plans for the future, others look for accountability.
It's going to be a marathon. It's going to be a lot of court dates.
The mayor did not take any questions following his address.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg toured the site of the I-95 collapse in Philadelphia today. Following the visit, he promised funding to help repair the roadway, which collapsed Sunday morning and killed one person. The Transportation Secretary also talked about the impact of the collapse on the nation's supply chain, saying disruptions in trucking routes will put upward pressure on costs along the East Coast.
So we're going to continue to be here every step of the way for as long as it takes, with both financial backing and any other technical support that's needed as PennDOT works to restore this and as local officials work to make sure that the impacts are managed and absorbed as much as possible.
Pennsylvania's Transportation Secretary Michael Carroll said he expects to release a replacement plan tomorrow. Cleanup continues in parts of North Texas after big hail hit late Monday night. Workers went out today to assess the damage to both vehicles and roofs. One resident, Daniel Copeland, showed pictures of baseball-sized hailstones. His SUV took a lot of damage from that damage, which fell in Bursland, just south of Fort Worth last night. Several vehicles in the neighborhood suffered that same fate.
Walked outside and was like, that's pretty cool. And then we heard a big thunk. We didn't know what it was, kind of ignored it, and then saw a big baseball land into the yard. Went and grabbed it. Wasn't a baseball, wasn't the neighbors, it was lice.
Unfortunately, there is yet another chance for a storm in these areas with large possible hail.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're tracking that second storm coming through, but that's pretty amazing. Except remember, that started with one little raindrop that went up to freezing, came down, then went up to freezing again, and came down, and did that so many times it was 4 inches wide. Well, we're looking at the cloud deck that sort of helped us out with the temperature today because we didn't hit the upper 90s. However, the rest of the week looks pretty hot. We'll be talking about that in just a moment. Well, good evening, everybody. Yes, the heat goes on. Today, we only topped out at 92, fortunately, because this cloud deck sort of rolled in. It looked kind of hazy, right? But that, broke the sun up a little bit and gave us a little bit of a break. As we talked about, there's been some severe weather north of us, but it's beyond the high pressure that's on top of us. So last night, and we showed, Karina showed some of it. Here's another picture of the hail in Dallas. I mean, baseball, 2, 3, 4 inches, grapefruit. We're running out, pretty soon there'll be bowling balls at the rate we're going. And right south of Arlington, there was a community that picked up a 5-inch hailstone, which is pretty amazing. It was, not smooth and round, but it was clumpy. But now think about this for a second. It's 100 degrees down here at the surface, right? The storm builds up tall, probably 40,000 feet, and tall enough to poke up into that cold level of the atmosphere that's freezing. So the raindrops keep going up and down and up and down, and finally they're so heavy they just fall to the ground. But for us, it's no such luck. Well, we didn't want damage like that guy had on his SUV. We're dealing with the excessive heat, so find some air conditioning. Hard to believe, some people don't have it. I know. We assume that it's available. Or get it serviced and get it cleaned. Make sure it works well for the reason. Avoid strenuous activity. Now, that's what the main thing is, that the guys that are working, guys and gals that are working outdoors in the middle of the day, they can keep working, but they need to take breaks and get plenty of fluids. You just don't want to overdo it, because then you'll start having problems. Wear light clothing, obviously, and long sleeves. You don't want your arms to burn, and you want the perspiration to hold on to the construction guys, they know these tricks. Check on family members. That's a good one. Maybe grandma or an aunt or something is not doing so well. Plenty of water. Watch for heat cramps, exhaustion, and stroke, and never leave anybody in the back seat of a car. Imagine the greenhouse effect, the sunlight going in to the car, the infrared not being able to get out, so you know how hot it gets inside the interior of a car when it's out there in a parking lot. So, folks, we continue with the heat advisory. For us, it goes from Waco through our area all the way south, because up here is where they're getting the thunder shower activity, and that stuff that fell in Dallas. Well, there's a second band coming through there tonight. For us, high pressure is on top of us. It is keeping us from everything. It is going to be hanging out there for about 2 weeks. So we're looking another 10 days of this brutal heat. And here's what it looks like for the next 7 days. We're looking to get up to 96, 98, and then 100 through the weekend. Now, we've got a lot of Juneteenth events, and we want you to have a good time. Just take a hat and don't get sunburned. Get plenty of fluids. It's also going to be quite warm for anybody working outdoors, because we're now pretty much at the highest level. We're at oppressive. So that's why we want you to be cautious with the heat. So in Port Lavaca, you get up at 81 degrees, you get up to 92 for the afternoon. The sea breeze has been nice. That has sort of helped out. In Cuero, they start off at 79 in the morning, get up to 97 in the afternoon, and everybody else for the next 7 days. We've got alert days, folks. Everybody's going to be dealing with hot weather. High temperatures at 100, and the heat index at about 110 to 115 every afternoon. That's your 7-day forecast. Just want to remind everybody, we do have a QR code. Scan that with your phone and put it on your phone and take Crossroads today wherever you need to go. And now we'll toss it to Gino in sports.
Thanks, Mac. A Cuero Gobbler is hoping to make it to an NFL team before the start of the 2023 NFL season. That and more after the break. At a crossroads, Victoria West, Industrial, and Goliad hit the gridiron at Memorial Stadium this evening. The 7-on-7 action got a little chippy between the West Warriors and Goliad Tigers towards the end. Loved the intensity, of course. No one was hurt in the action, and the coaches were loving the work their guys were putting in as well. The matchups lasted about an hour, with each team getting an opportunity to get some work in with one another. The Victoria East Titans, Calhoun Sand Crabs, and El Campo Ricebirds played at Memorial Stadium as well yesterday. 2 days are soon to come. Victoria West Warriors coaching staff hosted a 2-day quarterback and wide receiver camp at Memorial Stadium over the weekend. This is the third year Victoria West head coach Courtney Boyce has hosted a 2-day camp for young athletes in 4th through 9th grade. The top performers on the camp are on your screen from left to right. In 5th grade, quarterback Blake Humphreys. Next to him is quarterback Grayson Lopez in 6th grade. The top 2 receivers are Bryson Redding in 8th grade, who is to the right of Courtney Boyce in the middle. And on the far right is Lincoln Thompson in 5th grade. The Victoria Generals win a close one last night in a game that went into extra innings. Tonight was a different story. The game started out slow again tonight as the Rougarou took a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the second. But the Generals answered right back with Generals that hit 2 triples in the top of the third to take the lead. But in the 5th, the Rougarou battled back and scored a few more to come within 1. The game would go silent after that, and the Generals hold on to win 6-5 to beat the top-ranked Rougarou. A former Quail Gobbler football player is getting a second chance at the NFL. Savion Patton originally signed to the Indianapolis Colts as an undrafted free agent after the 2022 NFL Draft, before eventually getting waived in August of 2022. He will now show off his skills at 2 NFL camps, one for the Atlanta Falcons and the other is the Tennessee Titans. This past season at the Orlando Guardian defensive lineman, he was named the All-XFL defensive team. At the end of the season, he totaled 5 tackle for losses, 40 tackles, and led all defensive linemen in the XFL in tackles. He will be hoping to make it back to the league this upcoming season. The Texas Longhorns took on the Stanford Cardinals last night, and the winner went to the College World Series, and unfortunately it was not the Longhorns. The Cardinals looked as if they were going to walk it off in the bottom of the ninth, but the ball did not go out and was almost tagged out on second. Now this was the heartbreaking moment, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. The ball goes to shallow right center and nobody sees it. They lose it in the lights, and that would be it. Well, Texas falls 7-6 on a routine fly ball. The only remaining Texas team heading to Omaha is the TCU Horned Frogs, which will play Oral Roberts on June 16th at 1 o'clock. The NBA season is over and the Denver Nuggets are the NBA champions. The Nuggets pull a gentleman's sweep against the Miami Heat and win in 5 games. The final score to that one would be 94-89. And this just happened also. The Las Vegas Golden Knights win its first ever Stanley Cup title in franchise history after beating the Florida Panthers 9-3. That's your sports. Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Gina. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. We'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, a Nigerian chef is confirmed as the new world record holder for the longest cooking marathon. An Army base in Louisiana will be renamed in part of an ongoing effort to strip Confederate leaders of the honor. Fort Polk Military Base's new title is Joint Readiness Training Center in Fort Johnson. It's in honor of World War I Sergeant William Henry Johnson, who fought about 24 Germans single-handedly, killing at least 4 of them. Johnson was awarded a Purple Heart and Medal of Freedom. The base was previously named after Confederate Commander Lieutenant General Polk. Japan's Airlines Disney-themed flight made its debut, marking Tokyo Disney Resort's its 40th anniversary. Beloved Disney characters are painted on the special aircraft. They can be found inside the plane too, and even on their paper cups. Around 250 passengers enjoyed a flight departing and returning to an airport in Tokyo. Japan Airlines plans to operate the flight until March 2024. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, but who was flying the plane?
Hopefully it's not Goofy.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that was fun.
Hello everybody.
Oh,
so that's
supposed to be Mickey, I'm assuming.
I tried. But I got a better one for you, all right?
Okay.
What would Mickey want on a day like tomorrow? Watch this. He would like an ice cream cone.
Pause for dramatic effect.
But the forecast for the ice cream cones is eat it fast, folks, because we don't know. We have to have a contest at how long an ice cream will last outside, because we continue with the very hot stuff at 100, record-breaking temperatures, and of course our heat index will be at 110 in the afternoons. So try and stay cool.
All right, Mac, thank you. A Nigerian chef was confirmed as the new world record holder for the longest cooking marathon by the Guinness World Record Committee. The 26-year-old cooked in a makeshift kitchen for 4 days from May 11 to May 15, producing almost 10 pots of food. That's a lot of food, y'all.
Longest what?
Longest cooking marathon.
No thanks.
Well, thank you for joining us. See us back again here tomorrow.
So you do Goofy now. Go ahead.
Cool.